independent voices in the media and for individuals speaking out on political issues. And by leaving few if any avenues for people to engage in peaceful ways to assert their rights and to have a say in their country's future, the current campaign of repression is actually fueling unrest and further instability. What should the United States do? We should focus on using our leverage more effectively to persuade President el-Sisi to reverse course. I'd suggest several ways to do so. First, reduce military assistance. In the 1980s, the ratio of U.S. military to economic aid to Egypt was about $1.50 for each dollar. Now, the ratio is more than 8 to 1. This is a heavy emphasis on support for Egypt's military at a time when a military-dominated government is conducting a harsh campaign of repression. And this makes the United States look complicit. And it also appears that we're subsidizing a failed policy that is generating more instability. The U.S. government should start to restructure its aid package to bring military and economic aid to Egypt more into balance. Second, we should set rigorous conditions for U.S. aid. U.S. credibility in calling on the Egyptian government to respect human rights is often undermined by business as usual. Conditions on aid have become, for the most part, an empty threat. Congress should make these conditions credible. It should mandate a delay or reduction in military assistance if the Egyptian government fails to meet U.S. conditions. Third, we should press Egypt to overturn the convictions of the 43 NGO workers, including some of my former colleagues at Freedom House, who were unjustly sentenced 2 years ago in a politically motivated trial. These convictions still stand in Egypt. They force Egyptian citizens who work for American NGOs to remain in exile. They hang over American and international staff, and they cast a shadow over current U.S. programs to support democracy in Egypt. The State Department appears to have moved on. It is thereby sending an unfortunate signal that the U.S. government won't stick up for the people who carry out the programs that it funds. Fourth, Congress should bring attention to the situation of political prisoners, speaking out for the individuals and for political prisoners generally in Egypt, pressing for their release publicly and in your conversations with Egyptian officials, and where possible, visit them when you travel to Egypt. Fifth, pass the Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act. It would impose U.S. visa bans and asset freezes on foreign officials responsible for human rights abuses, such as Egyptian commanders who have ordered security forces to fire on peaceful demonstrators, prison officials who authorized the torture of detainees, or judges who have convicted dissidents or imposed death sentences in mass trials that lack due process. By imposing penalties on foreign officials who have carried out abuses with impunity, the Global Magnitsky Act is likely to deter future human rights abuses. The spiral of repression and violence is taking Egypt down a dangerous path of instability. President el-Sisi shows little sign of allowing meaningful political participation or tolerating dissent, and jihadi violence rages on. He is dragging Egypt down, and the reputation and interests of the United States down with it. Rather than continue to subsidize his failed policy, the United States should align its actions more closely to its words of support for democracy and human rights in Egypt. We should reduce the emphasis in the bilateral relationship and the aid package on the Egyptian military and take visible steps to distance ourselves from the perpetrators of human rights abuses. Better yet, the United States should use its leverage more effectively to persuade President el-Sisi to respect the rights of Egypt's citizens and include them in charting the country's future. Thank you.